what mood were you trying to create? Describe the skills you used. Was it successful in creating the atmosphere? In Storm Clouds, the mood that we wanted to create was quite emotional and almost like quite depressing, because it went from really upbeat songs and like everybody's really determined, and then suddenly everybody out turns into storm clouds, where people are suddenly seeing the dull side of what they've actually done, and probably people are starting to regret doing this, voting for the strike in the first place, because of all these negative things that are happening, such as the men being put out of work as well, and obviously with Rita and Eddie are have different opinions, and they're all on. They have no income to support their families at all, so it's a really depressing time. And for my character, I used my skills because obviously I'm not affected by that since I'm quite rich. The skills that I used was probably my reaction to what Tooley was saying at the table. How I found out that they decided to get someone from the factory and put her on as one of the dancers at the Ford car show, to try and break the solidarity altogether. I'm shocked, but I also like keep my cool and find out as much information as I can so I can get back to Rita. So, and the way my movement and the way I walk is kind of almost determined, because I'm probably one of the only people at this point to do as much as they can, so that the girls don't feel like they're doing this strike for nothing, and to make them feel like the strike was necessary. So I kind of walk with a purpose, with motivation, and but obviously when I'm delivering like some information to Rita, I'm also quite sympathetic, because I'm not really sure how she's going to take it. So I think the things that I'm doing at the moment have a positive impact on my performance, because I'm making sure I've got all the facts, and I think even in this song I'm probably still one of the most determined ones, because I don't want them to regret anything that they've done. So I'm kind of so as I've said, as I'm kind of I show the audience before this song, I just show that I'm very mature, I'm really intelligent, I'm level-headed, and I deal with situations much better than my husband, as he gets a bit stressed like at certain points. And yeah, I think the things that I'm doing now are like positive. What do you need to improve on? I don't think there's a lot of things that I can improve on in the dance area, because for most of the song I'm sitting down, or I'm kind of just walking to Rita, which is only a few steps. But the only thing that I can just maintain is my given circumstances, what's happening at the moment, think about the mood of the piece and what we're trying to create, and kind of just be the total opposite to what the girls are feeling at the moment. So they obviously feel like really they feel really down at the moment, and a lot of them will probably regret the strike. But obviously Lisa doesn't want that, so I kind of have to act the opposite to what they're feeling, but still sympathize, and is still a little bit worried about how things are turning out. And she really doesn't want her husband or the she just doesn't want, she wants equal rights just as much as Rita, just as much as anybody else, and she wants that to win over some like car company, which is like completely irrelevant to her. The only thing that matters is like women equality. So if I just make sure that I remember what her intentions are, and what she wants to achieve, then I think I'll hopefully create a naturalistic reaction, and that will carry on throughout my movement. What message does the song send to the audience? How do you enhance the message within the dance? What skills do you use to share this message with the audience? What could you do to improve your contribution to this message? The message sends to the audience that their initial idea of doing the strike is slowly crumbling because Ford has decided to kind of cut a lot of people's money off completely, such as the O'Grady's. They've put the women's strike has affected the men because Ford have decided to stop them from working, or it just worked out that way because obviously when there's no car seats then they can't create the car. And so the men are angry, which has had a negative impact on the women because they feel responsible even though they're fighting for something that they should believe in and that they should have got in the first place. How do you enhance the message within the dance? I think probably just the worried and regretful looks on the women's faces, especially when they're all in a formation in the middle with the signs, and most of them and a lot of them are kind of looking a little emotional and just worried as to what they've done to other people. And because they've just obviously found out at the start, the men say that they've run out, they can't do any work too, so that's added to the pressure of getting to what they want, and they've realised that their decision has had a negative impact on the men too, and that's not what they wanted. They just wanted equal pay. They didn't want to cut off any other. They didn't want to cut off a man's wages. What skills do you use to share this message with the audience? Well, as I've said, it's kind of the women's formation, and the way that they walk in different places to the stage. It's all like, it's almost as if they're dragging themselves, which shows how unhappy they are, and how worthless they feel at this point. And it just shows and it just compares to the song Everybody Out and I Want, which are really light-hearted songs, and it shows that they're all joking and aren't happy or a little bit impatient at the start, but they're still making jokes and they're still happy where they are, even though it's they're always complaining about equal pay. It was like kind of a brighter time for them in comparison to Storm Clouds, which is like quite depressing all around, especially the looks on the faces and the way we've staged it, because it involves a lot of slow walking. What could you do to improve your contribution to this message? Just as I've said before, just remind myself of the given circumstances and the intent and what I want for the woman, which is obviously equal pay and women equality. Where did the dance take place? Describe how you showed this in the dance. Describe how this affects your movement. The dance takes place in what looks like kind of the streets, like just outside the factory, because the men are kind of having a bit of an argument with the women because they found out that they can't really work anymore because they need seats to make the cars. So it looks like it's kind of like obviously in public, and they've still got their signs, which makes it look like they're obviously still they're still fighting for what they believe in around that area. So I'm guessing it's kind of like just probably outside the factory. And then the other scenes, such as the dinner scene with Mr. Hopkins and Tooley, is obviously in the Hopkins household, which is obviously shown by like the table and what looks like expensive like cutlery and plates and bowls. And also it just shows that it is our house because Tooley asks what's for dessert and I say cheese, which shows that I'm the hostess and I've basically cooked everything for them. And when I want to tell Rita the news, the kitchen backdrop is there along with the table, and it shows Eddie's doing some clearing up and helping with the washing. So that was easy to obviously show because